that occurred, the final 3 plagues that occurred. We already discussed, right, the plague of the hail, Barad. Last time we discussed that?
We did everyone except for the locusts.
So we have 3 more left now, right?
No, just the locusts.
We have the locusts, and then we have the
boils and blisters.
Right, we have the locusts, and then we have the darkness, and then we have the firstborn. Those are the 3 that are left. So let's discuss those 3, right, and see what we can get out of that. So it says like this, right, that first of all we ask a question. Kadosh Baruch Hu now tells Moshe, go back to Paro and tell him, this time, I'm going to bring on you the locusts, right? And this locust, we talked about this with Mark last week, how they came and all this stuff, but the truth is, right, that locusts usually come, at a regular pace, right? In the Middle East, it's very common, but this was...
It just happened
recently,
I think it was in Persia or Iran.
Yeah, sure.
Just happened.
Sure, yeah.
Arabia.
Yeah, it's very common, but
unusual.
This was something unusual altogether, right? Which was what? This locust was not the regular type of locust. What does that mean? That this was the strongest locust attack that there ever was in history. What does that mean? It says, right, in the Chumash, that all the food was eaten there, right? All the vegetation was eaten. Nothing was left over. 0. Everything was consumed. Which was something unbelievable. Can you imagine if that would happen, right, in America? They would come and, the whole
crop,
right, the whole crop over there in Kansas, and all these places, right, where they grow,
all the wheat,
right, all the wheat over there. Can you imagine locusts will come and not leave a dime of, leave a dime. Wow. Of vegetation, nothing, 0, This is exactly what happened with the locusts. So this was something unusual until the point that the verse says, right, that there was no such a thing this before in history, and there never will be again in history such a thing like this. This is a one-time deal. You understand? Can you imagine? But the truth is, right, that Chazal asked a question regarding this, by the way. That there was also in the Bible another account of locusts that came, which also says there that there was nothing like that, ever. So they ask, right, in the Gemara and the Talmud, they ask, so what's the story, right? Over here you're telling me there's nothing like this one. Then you're telling me over there's nothing like that one. Which one was that one? That one was in the time of Yoel, right? Yoel was one of the prophets that was in the first temple, towards the end of the first temple. So what happened was that during his time, there came also attack of locusts. But so the Chazal say, right, the difference is like this, that over here it was basically one type of locust, because there's different species, you understand? Over there was several species that came at one time. That was the difference between over there and over here. Over here was only one species, over there were several species, whatever. But anyway, both of them were extremely devastating. So here also, what happened was that everything was eaten, nothing was left over. So this is also one of the great attacks that Hashem made on the Egyptians. They took away all their food supply, basically. Everything was, taken away, nothing left over. So this, is one of the fastest ways to destroy a country by, the food supply doesn't exist anymore. Once you don't have food, that's it, right? The whole thing is over. So basically what happened was he told Paro, he said, you know what, if you don't let my people go now, you're going to get this locust thing. So Paro, right, at this point already, he was really tired. He was fed up with all this thing. What does that mean, fed up? That he really wanted to give in. He was too tired to fight anymore. He was too, tired to be stubborn. He was broken. The whole country was broken already.
Yeah. The magician's name was Jonas.
Okay. So what happens like this, right? That he really wants to give in now and say, okay, fine, let bygones be bygones. You can just leave and leave us alone. Go where you want to go. Do what you have to do. Right? Just let it go. So what happened was that, but even though he wanted to give in here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not allow him to do that. Can you imagine? He blocked him over here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He blocked him from giving in. Right? So what does that mean? The Chazal say that when it comes to the first 5 plagues, Paro, that was his fault they let him go, because he hardened his heart. He was stubborn, right? Stubborn as a mule. He was stubborn there, so what happened was he didn't let them go. But the last 5 plagues, they say, right, actually he wanted to let them go, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't allow him to do that. He hardened his heart artificially, artificial heart he put into him. You understand? Why did he do that? What's the reason why? Why did he make Paro's suffering and his stubbornness even worse than it was before? What's the reason why? So they say the Chazal something amazing, right? That Paro already demonstrated a total disregard for God in the first 5 plagues. Pretending like, oh, nothing happened, it's just sorcery, it's no big deal, we can do that too, all these things. So he was playing these games, So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was fed up with him already, that's it, fed up. Okay, you want to play these games with me, huh? So now he says, you know what? There's going to come a time that you're going to want to give in, but I'm not going to let you anymore. Why not? What's the reason why? You know what the reason is? The reason is because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, now I'm going to let you go all the way. And I'm going to destroy your country. I'm going to destroy your people. Nothing will be left over. You'll be utterly destroyed. And I want to bring the full measure of punishment upon you. And this is why you can't give in anymore, even though you want to give in. That's what I told him. Can you imagine something like this?
Maybe punish Obama the same way.
Okay. So, Obama was a little bit taller though, A little bit. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, right?
He wasn't the first black man.
He was a what? What did you say?
He was a little bit taller. Okay. So anyway,
His
Rabbi,
whole life he wanted to build his reputation on destroying Israel. So now God will destroy his reputation.
In his last term, that's what he tried to do.
okay, I like that. That sounds good. Okay, so so what happens like this, right? That now comes the locusts, and they just totally devour everything in the country. Nothing's left over. So at this point, there's also another question, right? Chazal ask, why did it? For every plague there was a reason why they brought that plague, Kadosh Baruch Hu, on these people, right? So what was it? What was the reason of the locusts? What was the reason of that plague? That Kadosh Baruch Hu, what did he mean to punish on that? You know what that means? That means that we have a concept in the Torah, right? That Kadosh Baruch Hu, right, punishes midah keneged midah. You know what that means in Hebrew? That means it's measure for measure. In other words, you get punished the way you sinned. If you sinned a certain way, Hashem punishes you the way that you sinned in order to punish you the way that you act. What goes around comes around, as they say, right? That's the English way of saying it, right? Whatever. That's the idea. So I'm going to punish you just like the way you sinned. So therefore, what was here the reason why he gave him the locusts? He brought the locusts. The reason was because they used to tell the Jews, oh, go and farm for us, and plant the barley and wheat. We want to have a nice harvest. So since they used to make the Jews work like that to plant to plant their wheat and barley. So what Kadosh Baruch Hu did was, He said, you're not going to benefit from any of that. Everything's going to be eaten. Nothing will be left over. So all the work that you made them do will go up, right? All go to shambles. Nothing left over. Right? That's the way it is. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu punished them like that. Because they made the Jews work in farming, and do their farming and plant and this and plowing and all that stuff. It's hard work, right? Farming is hard work. Not easy stuff. So they didn't have machines. In those days, they didn't have machines. You know what I mean? It's a different thing. It's an interesting thing, by the way, what you're saying, Nissim, that regarding the farming, right? This intelligent or non-intelligent. The Torah doesn't talk about intelligent, but what it says something interesting about farming, right? That farming is a cursed kind of like a work. It's cursed. What does that mean? That when you get involved with the ground, the earth, it's a cursed thing.
Why?
Because the earth is tameh, it's impure. It's the epitome of gashmiut, of earthliness. That's why we call it earth, right? Earthliness, right? Material. It's like the most material thing that we have. So therefore, a person who gets involved in that also becomes too material. So it actually, right, makes him, right? So therefore, they say that that's one of the worst professions, right? To be a farmer, in the sense that there's a lot of curse there. There's a lot of hard work. You have to work super, super hard. So no, we didn't say that. But they bring, by the way, the example in the Chazal that we find two people who got into farming, and both of them, right, turned out very bad. We find two people in the Bible who were farmers. You know who that was? The first one was Noach, right? It says Noach ish Adama. So he went into farming and he got hurt from that. How did he get hurt? Because he got drunk, right? He planted a vineyard, he got drunk, and then his son did what he did to him, right? The whole story, what he did there with your knives. Probably use one of those knives he used that Mark has, Right? One of those things. Okay, you get the idea. So, okay. So, right, Noach didn't succeed very much with farming. So, right, the Torah says, right, we see from there was also one of the kings, right? That also the kings of Judah, that he also did farming, and he also didn't turn out good for him, right? So we see from there, right, that farming is not really such a, according to the Torah, it's not considered to be such a successful endeavor.
If nobody does it, then nobody eats.
That's true. You're right.
You're right.
Somebody's got to do it.
So everybody has to toil the land.
Yeah, it's actually very true what you're saying. So then how can we answer the question you're asking? I can answer it like this: that somebody's got to do it, but better that shouldn't be you. It's like somebody's got to do everything. That's the way it is in this world. Somebody's got to do this. Somebody's got to work in the sewer. But it's better that it shouldn't be you. You know what I mean? What can you do? So farming is like one of those professions. Somebody's got to do it, but if you're smart, stay away from it. Right? That's the idea.
What is the Torah, based on what you're saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What is the loftiest profession?
Well, the loftiest profession is Torah. To study Torah. That's the loftiest profession. Nothing like that. It brings all the blessing to you. Brings all the wealth. Right? All the wealth comes from Torah. All the blessing comes from Torah. So a person who attaches himself to Torah, in the end, he gets all the good things in life, everything. Kavod, honor, respect, wealth, right? Good children, good family, everything he gets from them. Gets blessed from everything. That's the most noble profession that we have, studying Torah. Because you know why? Because you have the best boss. He's your boss. You know what I mean? How can you have a better boss than that, right? Who'll give you better conditions? Who'll give you better working conditions? Who'll give you better vacations? Who'll give you better pension? Well, nobody will give you like Hashem.
Who's going to pay you?
He does everything. That's the whole idea. Understand?
There's a lot of work to walk in the lazy.
Okay, so that's the idea. Anyway, getting back to what we said, Rabotai. So therefore, right, came the locusts and ate up everything, devoured the whole country. So now Moshe Rabbeinu comes back again. He says, "You know what? Okay, you ready to give in now?" And he really was. But Kadosh Baruch Hu hardened his heart, and again he refused, right? Because he wanted him to go all the way into the darkness, into the punishment, into the danger zone. That's what he made him do, Kadosh Baruch Hu, in order to punish him. Because he was already fed up with power. Fed up with you already. How many times do I have to warn you? You know what I mean? It's not enough that I warned you once, twice, 3, 4, 5. What is it with you? How far can you go? The Chazal, by the way, teaches us a thing over here, right? A very important thing. That the Goyim, they don't like to do the will of Hashem. They're naturally rebellious. You know what I mean? That's why they seek out all these excuses why not to do the Torah, all these excuses, the fake religions and all these things, in order to make excuses to get out of that stuff. So the only way, how can you get a goy to do the will of Hashem? He doesn't want to do the will of Hashem. You know what it is? Take a stick, like this. That's the only way. Otherwise, this is what he did to Paro, one stick after another, Otherwise, the goy doesn't want to do the will of Hashem. You understand? This is the way they are. That's their nature. So because of that, Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? But there's also like an analogy to that, right? That says in the Torah that the only way you can chastise a slave is to hit him. You can't chastise a slave with philosophy, Talk to philosophy in there. I'll prove to you that I'm right. A slave, you cannot prove something to a slave, They don't understand that language. They only understand the language of a stick, That's all they understand. That's their mentality, Some people have this kind of mentality like that. So Kadosh Baruch Hu knew that Paro was a real slave. So therefore, he knew that the only thing that would help was a stick. And that's going to be the same thing with Gog and Magog. You understand? Gog and Magog, same thing. They're going to come. What do you think? They're going to listen to reasoning when they come? They're going to listen to logic? To, warnings from Hashem? Warnings from... No, the only thing they listen to is when they get makot. One punch after the other. Chak. That's the only thing that will help. You can't chastise them with words. You have to chastise them with fear. Go and talk words to the Arabs, right, in Israel, right? Tell them, philosophy, Yeah, prove to them this, prove to them that. What are you trying to prove to me? I don't understand what you're talking about. It's not my language, you understand? The only language you understand is this, right? Chach. That's the only thing you understand. They don't understand anything else. That's the way it is with Paro also. So now, right, comes and brings the darkness. He tells them, listen, I'm bringing darkness this time. Right? So this was something like amazing, this darkness thing, right? As we said, right, each plague went for a week. So they say that this plague of darkness was actually divided into 2 stages. There was the first 3 days and then the second 3 days. What does that mean? The first 3 days was regular darkness. What does that mean? It's like, if you shut off all the lights in the building, and it's like pitch dark, you can't see nothing. So you gotta like grope around, touch this and grope on the walls. Make sure you don't fall. Make sure you don't trip over something. That's the way it was the first part, first 3 days. But the second 3 days was even worse than that. You know how bad it was? Not that you have to grope around. You couldn't even move. You couldn't even move. Your body was like still. If you sat, you couldn't get up. If you get up, you couldn't sit. It was like a thick darkness, like it was in the air, like thick. Can you imagine? Like a shake, you buy a shake, a thick shake. That's what it was. You couldn't move there, it was like too much viscosity. Can't move around. If they were lying on the dead bed, they had to stay there for 3 days. They couldn't move from there. That's how bad it was. Can you imagine? It was something, a natural darkness. It was something like a thick darkness. You couldn't even move your body. You couldn't even budge.
How long did this last?
So we're saying 3 and 3, right? 3 regular darkness and 3 days of thick darkness. All together, right? It was like a week, whatever. So this is exactly what happened with the darkness.
And the Jews, what they were doing?
So why did now, right? Again, right? We mentioned why HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plagues. We mentioned why he brought the locusts, right? The question is, why did he bring the darkness? What was that for, right? We said HaKadosh Baruch Hu always, right, has reasons for everything. So what's the reason for the darkness? So you know what the Chazal say? Here the reason was more practical. You know what I mean? What does it mean practical? The reason was because he wanted to hide something over here. When you bring darkness, that means you want to have something to hide, right? You don't want people to see something. So here HaKadosh Baruch Hu was trying to hide something. What was he trying to hide? Right? He was trying to hide the death of the Jews as well. What does that mean? Right? That here in the plague of darkness, many Jews died here, right? We're talking about millions of Jews died here. Can you imagine? 80%, yeah. 4/5 of the Jews died. What was the reason why they died? Very simple reason. Can you imagine? So what happened was like this, right? That there were Jews in those times in Egypt that were not really slaves also. They were not in slavery. Besides Shevet Levi, right? Besides that. Why weren't they slaves? You know why? They had deals with the Egyptians, they had arrangements. So what happened was, right, they had arrangements with the Egyptians not to be slaves, probably paying some, bribes there, shochad, all kinds of, under the table, right, exactly, deals, wheels and deals, So what happened was that they got very rich. They were like millionaires, these people, you understand? Very wealthy people, very wealthy Jews. And these people had deals with the Egyptians. They were not in slavery. So what happened was that because of all the good conditions that they had over there, they had like the best life, like top-notch, penthouse lifestyle, all the goodies, all the trimmings, everything. No problem. Okay. So what happened was that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to kill these people, these Jews. Why wanted to kill them? Because they didn't want to leave Mitzrayim. They said, we're staying here. You guys want to leave? Leave. What's it to us, We're not going nowhere. We're not budging, man. We have a great life over here. What are you talking about? I have a house in the Hamptons. I have a house in Florida, right? What are you talking about? I got one in Boca Raton. I got one in Miami Beach, North Miami Beach. I got the best house. What are you talking about? I want to leave? Why? I want to go to Tel Aviv over there? What do I need to Tel Aviv? What do I need Tel Aviv for? I'm living in paradise over here. What are you talking about? So they didn't want to leave. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, was fed up with these people, What kind of thing is this? You don't want to leave. I'm trying to take you out of here, and you want to stay here? In this dungeon over here in Egypt. So what happened was HaKadosh Baruch Hu was fed up with them. So what he did was, when the darkness came, he got rid of all of them. Can you imagine?
Wow.
We're talking about millions of Jews here. You know what I mean? What do we call these Jews today? We call them like the Erev Rav, What does that mean? Like these people who are, very materialistic. They don't want Judaism. All they want is to live, good life, materialistic.
It's funny.
So,
Give me that.
One of your biggest contributors.
Okay, right. So you understand? People like this, So these people, The same thing will be here, right? They say, right, that 4/5 of the population is going to be wiped out of the world. But that also includes the Jews as well. What does that mean? The Jews who are not really, working in Judaism, they're not going to be a part of the redemption either, just like they weren't over there. Same thing. They're not going to be a part of that. You know what I mean? There are Jews who have totally assimilated. They have no Jewish identity anymore. Zero, nothing. By the way, the truth is, right, that it says that Kadosh Baruch Hu will give them one more chance. When the Messiah comes, Mashiach, so what's going to be is that Kadosh Baruch Hu, it says in the prophets like this. What does it say in the prophet? The prophet says that just like Kadosh Baruch Hu took out the Jews from Mitzrayim and took them in the wilderness for 40 years, what was the purpose of being there for 40 years? To cleanse them, to teach them, to train them, to turn them into a productive people. Same thing he's going to do when Mashiach comes as well. What does that mean? He will take the Jews out from the countries that they lived in. He will take them to the desert, just like he did, and he will have like a judgment with them. What does that mean? Why didn't you want to be Jewish? Why didn't you want to keep the mitzvot? Why didn't you want to keep the Torah? Why didn't you want to this? He's going to ask them. He's going to force them to do tshuva. He's going to say, what is it with you people? I'm 2,000 years trying to get you straightened out already. Can't straighten you out.
Only the Greek.
You know what I mean?
That the generation
you know what it says about this? It says that Kadosh Baruch Hu will force them to do tshuva. He will twist their arm until they do tshuva. Can you imagine such a thing like this? There are people who are very stubborn, stiff-necked people,
If they resist, then they'll perish.
So what does that mean? No, he will actually force them. You know what I mean? Can you imagine? You force somebody I'm gonna break your arms. I'm gonna break your legs. You don't want to do tshuva. That's what he's gonna do. It says that literally in the prophets. He will force them to do tshuva. And by the way, there's also another thing that it says about this, right? In Gemara Yerushalmi, it says over there that these people, right, who will be in the time of Mashiach, they have no portion in the world to come. They're going to be saved in the time of Mashiach. They're going to be saved. They're going to be redeemed. But when it comes to the world to come, they have no portion in that. Can you imagine something like this? They have no portion in the world to come.
So what's the sense of being saved?
So now listen to this. Now interesting, right? So you know why? Because the times of Mashiach and the world to come is two different things. You understand? Some people think it's the same thing, but it's not. What's the difference? When Mashiach comes, we're still in this world, in this particular world that we're living in now. When the world to come comes, it's a different world altogether. It's a different creation. Right, different creation altogether. Right, exactly. So when we're talking about times of Mashiach, he will force them to do tshuva. He will save them, redeem them, bring them back, with their arms twisted, behind your back, headlock, like this. Let's go. You understand? That's what he's going to do to them. But in the world to come, they have no portion over there. So the question is why? Why do they have no portion in the world to come? So, you know what it says in the Gemara Yerushalmi? It says enough for them what they're going to get in times of Mashiach. In other words, it will be such a good reward, what they'll get. That's enough for them. They don't deserve any more than that. Why not? The question is why not,
They never worked for the...
You know what I mean? That's the idea.
You gotta work for it.
In other words, these people, they coerce them to do tshuva. They don't really deserve Olam Haba. But Mashiach they're going to get, against their will, whatever they think or not. You understand? When it comes to Olam Haba, zero. Why? Because they never really did tshuva from their own volition.
So their souls will disappear.
You know what I mean? But that's a big discussion, by the way. What happens with the souls? We have to do a different lecture on that one, right? That's a different lecture. That's a very deep thing, right?
But didn't you tell me 20 years ago that most of us will make it to the next world, but there will be some cleansing that will have to happen?
Yes, it's very true actually what you're saying. That's what it said in Pirkei Avot, right? Right? All of Israel, they have a portion of the world to come. What does that mean? The ones who behave like Jews, you know what I mean? You can identify them as a Jew, But a person who's totally assimilated, he has nothing left anymore Judaism.
Most Jews are secular Jews then.
Right. So the ones who are like, nothing. So we're not talking about those. We're talking about the ones who eat, dead mice, and chocolate covered ants, and these kinds of things, and rodents, and snails, all kinds of things like this. And they go to church, and they pray over the church. People like this. So what portion do they have in Judaism? They have portion of Judaism, these people? What do they have? They don't put tefillin. They don't, right? They don't keep Shabbat. They don't keep the holidays. What do they have? They look like a goy. You know what I mean? The person was living like a goy. So what portion should he have in the world to come? Nothing there.
Cow.
Right? So, getting back to what we said, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu got rid of these guys. You know what I mean? 4/5 of the people got wiped out over there. Can you imagine? And what happened was that the Jews were burying them also. They had to be buried. What do you think? They're just going to stay above the ground? What's going to be, right? So they on those 7 days there was darkness. For the Jews it wasn't dark. They were able to see perfectly. You understand? All these plagues that came, the Jews didn't feel them. Did not apply to them, even though they were in the same place. To you it's dark, for me it's total light. You know what I mean? That's the way it was. The Jews were totally separated from the Egyptians when it comes to plagues. So what happened was that at that time the Jews went and they buried these people. Can you imagine to bury millions of people like this, One after the other. Ba, 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 ba. That's what they did. So what was the reason why he did this in the darkness, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because he didn't want the Egyptians to enjoy that, right? To see that. This is the reason why. Why not? Because otherwise the Egyptians would say, this plague is not really on us, it's on everybody. It's coming on the Jews, it's coming on the non-Jews, right? It's coming on everybody, this thing. So it's not, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's not because of us, it's just a coincidence. You know what I mean? Just something, some kind of occurrence. So therefore Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't show them all this, in order to hide from them this thing. Because otherwise they would have rejoiced, they would have had a good time. They would have said, everybody's getting the same thing, same treatment. So, everybody's created, we're all created equal, all mankind is created equal, That's the way it is. That's what they would say. So therefore Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't let them enjoy that. To see the Jews dying and being buried. So therefore what he did was, he hid all this from them. Like nothing happened. Understand? So this is exactly what happened with the Makkah of darkness. And the next one, right, as you know, was the worst of all of them. Why is that? Because we're talking about here deaths, of children. Firstborn was even worse, right? And worse and worse and worse and worse. So here, right, we're talking about every, family has a dead person in there. So everybody screaming, yelling. It was like everybody was screaming there. As we said, right, there were families that there were more than one or two. There was like 10 of them like that. Remember we discussed that, right? Yeah. Right? Why is that? Because the Egyptian women were unchaste, right? They used to cheat on their husbands, So because of that, they had like firstborn from many different men, From Joe, from David, from Peter, right? From everybody, They had the firstborn from many different men. One lady, right? That's the way it was in those days. They were very lewd. The Egyptian ladies were very lewd people. Totally impromiscuous. So therefore, right, they had many firstborns in one family. And the husband didn't even know about it, right? He was like wondering, what's going on here? I thought this was my firstborn. Now I see that this was also my firstborn. They didn't even know. They didn't know about it. You know what I mean? They knew how to hide these things. They knew how to hide. So, the real good professional, cheaters, the women, they know how to hide everything. You never see them doing nothing. You know what I mean? They know how to play these tricks. So, that's the way it is. This is, by the way, I'm not telling you from my own volition. This is from Mishlei, right? Shlomo Melech, right? Proverbs, the book of Proverbs. Talks about it over there. That a woman who cheats knows how to do it without showing anything, right? You don't see nothing. Everything is, wiped out. It's wiped off, as we said, right? They wipe everything off. Right. If you know what I mean. Okay, you got the idea. They use a lot of tissues. Okay. Wet wipes. They use. Okay. I'm not telling you from my own. It's not my own wording. It's from Mishlei, from Proverbs. That's what it says there. So this is exactly what happened, right? So once the thing is over here, right? That what really Paro here also should have died, right? He was also firstborn. You know what I mean? So he really should have died. So then why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu not kill Paro? Because he wanted to show him also what's going to be in Yam Suf, right? In the Red Sea. To be defeated over there, that everybody's going to be destroyed. His whole army is going to be destroyed, wiped out. No hope. No remnant. No legacy. No nothing, right? Everything is wiped out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to take him all the way. And in the end, by the way, Paro never died. You know that, right? He never died. What does that mean? That all the Jews drowned in the sea. The only one who came out was Paro. All the Egyptians, I'm sorry, yes. All the Egyptians drowned in the sea. The only one that came out was Paro.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't come out. He didn't go in.
No, he was in there. He was in, came out alive. Healthy and
He's
happy.
watching too much Hollywood. That's
So the question is why, by the way? He was the firstborn, he should have died in the firstborn. Right? And also now he should have died because they were drowned. So why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu save Paro? So you know the answer is? Paro did some kind of a tshuva over here. You know, in the end, he did some kind of a tshuva. He admitted, you know, as he says right over here, that you are the righteous, Hashem is righteous, and we're the wicked, you know? He did tshuva, some kind of a tshuva over here. So therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu kept him alive. So what did he do, by the way? Once he came out of the water, what did he do? He became a professional swimmer. What happened, right? He went to the Olympics, the swimming. What did he do? Mark.
He admitted that Moses' God was God.
Right, but what did he do with the rest of his life? What? He became a what?
Leader of a city.
Yeah, what city are you talking about? Nineveh. Oh. Nineveh. Right, actually, I think the Nineveh story was before that. Whatever. Yeah, actually, you're right. Actually, it was actually after that. So what happened was like this, right? That Paro became, eventually, what happened was, he became the king of a different country. He went to a different place. You know where that was? Tor.
Where?
Tor.
Sore?
Tor, yeah. In English we call that Tyre.
Tyre.
You know where that is?
It's in the coast of Greece, north next to Turkey.
It's in Lebanon.
Right.
Over there.
Lebanon. I was there.
There's Sidon, and there's Tyre, right over there. Tyre, whatever they call it. Right next to each other. He was the king over there. That country was a very big economic power at that time. And Paro was the king over there. You know how long he ruled over there? He ruled over there for about 400 years. 800 years, I'm sorry.
He lived that long?
He lived a very long time, Paro. He ruled over there for 800 years, and he became righteous, and he helped Shlomo Melech to build the Bet HaMikdash. He supplied him with the wood. Can you imagine? He became allied with Shlomo Melech, with King Solomon, and with King David also. He was friends.
Did they know?
Can you imagine?
Did they know he was Pharaoh?
They probably know.
That's incredible.
You know, you can't miss a midget like that, right? You know, yeah, right. So,
But he became righteous.
in a sense, yeah, he became righteous. But in the end, what happened was that in the end, after he lived all that time, he again messed up. Right? What did he do? He made himself into a god again. Made himself divine. You know what I mean? And Kodesh Baruch Hu punished him, and they killed him. That was the end of it, right? That was the end. So Paro had a long history. You know what I mean? We're talking about 1,000 years at least, if not more. This guy. This guy was a very, very amazing person because he was very wise. He was very, he was an extremely wise man. He was a very.
Anywhere else in history that this guy lived 800 years?
Well, Noach lived also 900 years plus. Adam Arishon, right?
Noah?
Yeah, all those people lived a long time. Yeah.
There was a lady who lived during King David's time.
Yeah.
She never died. She was very old. She was a harpist of some sort. It's true.
You're talking about Serach, right?
There was a lady like
Serach,
this,
yeah. That's a different story. Okay, so anyway, getting back to what we said. So now, right, gets that's Makkah. His son dies. So now, right, what happened was there was also another thing, right? That during the darkness, there was another development that occurred over there, which was what? That the Jews now, Hashem told the Jews, while the Egyptians are dark, they can't move around, go now to their houses and search out, what they have. Possessions, jewelry, money, cash, right, all kinds of things, clothing, all kinds of stuff, right? And, search out everything in their drawers, in their vaults, closets, this and that, all kinds of stuff, and then you're gonna get that stuff to take out from Mitzrayim, right? They're gonna remove everything. What does that mean? The Jews already knew where everything was, right? The location of everything. Why? Because they already searched it out, before during the plague of darkness. So what happened was that once they were leaving, right, and they were being pushed out already to leave, so they were telling the Egyptians, "Hey, wait a second, give me your stuff, your jewelry, So they would say to the Egyptians, "I don't have anything. I'm sorry, I'm poor. I lost my shirt. I was in the stock market. I went down. I lost everything." So they would tell them, "Wait a second. Didn't I see in your closet over there? It's over there. Open up that closet." Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's right there. Oh, that. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay, so they would give it to them, right? That's the way it was. You understand? So they were giving them everything why? Because the Jews already knew where it was. They searched out everything. You know what I mean? That was the way they groped out everything there.
Some are richer than others.
They all got filthy rich. Forget about it, right? filthy rich.
Levium also?
Everybody got filthy rich. So what happened was, right, including Moshe Rabbeinu himself, by the way, right? Moshe Rabbeinu also got rich. Not from that, from a different thing. We'll talk about that right later on. But what happened was that now they got filthy rich. They took out everything from Mitzrayim. They emptied out everything: the gold, silver, right, the diamonds, all the precious gems, everything they took out. Can you imagine? Beautiful clothing, fancy stuff. They emptied them out like nothing, like nobody's business. That's what they did. They totally emptied them out. Why do they deserve all this? Right? You may say maybe it's gezel, it's theft, right? Because all the work that they did for 210 years, they had to be paid now, right? That was their salary. That was the whole thing. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, listen, I have to do this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, why do I have to do this? He told Moshe Rabbeinu, I have to do this. You know why? Because I promised their forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, that they were going to go into slavery, but they're going to come out with a lot of possessions. They're going to come out wealthy. So therefore, he fulfilled his. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always fulfills his promises. He never reneged on any promise, right? He never retracted any of the deals that they did, right? No asmachta, no nothing over there, right? So therefore, whatever he said, that's exactly what he did. He told Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, he said, listen, they're going to come out with great substance, with great wealth. And that's exactly how they came out. That's exactly what happened. This is the story. So now, right, there's only one problem though, right? What's the problem? The problem is, the Jews want to come out, Hashem wants to take them out, the Egyptians want them out already, right? Because they're scared to death, They think they're going to die, everybody's going to die. They're scared of their lives. So they're pushing them to go, we'll give you everything. Just get out. Go. So what happens is like this, right? That now, there's one problem though, which is holding back the redemption. Which is what? The Jews don't have merit for this. You know what I'm talking about, merit? This is a great miracle, right? What miracle are we talking about? We're talking about the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking one nation from a different nation that are mixed together in one nation, separating one from the other, like sifting it out, in a sieve. Sift. Okay, get out now. I separate two of you. You go your way. This one, he's doing like a surgery, pincetta. Get him out of there. This is a very big miracle. Who can do such a thing as this? Can you imagine now if somebody would do this in America? Separate all the nations, the Koreans, the Chinese, the Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans, who can do such a thing like that? Put them all in separate camps.
They mix multitude.
You know what I mean? So what happened was, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what he did. But in order to do such a thing like this is a miracle, you understand? So what do you need to make a miracle? You need merit. What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't make a miracle. He operates this world in the laws of nature. Like Mark says, right? There's nature in the world. Everything is nature. But in order to break the rules of nature, and to overcome that, you need some kind of a very big merit for that. You have to prove that you're different from that people. This people and that people, they're not the same. They don't have the same merits, they don't have the same nature. They don't have the same lifestyle. They're different, So the truth is, right, but they didn't really have that, the Jews. Why is that? As the Chazal say, right, that over there in Mitzrayim, the Jews were all over there with Azara. They were doing that with Azara. They were serving idols, right? They're going to church, studying the New Testament, or the things like this. That's what they were doing. So because of that, the measure of justice was coming to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, these are, idolaters, these are idolaters, so why should you take this one out from this one and separate them? For what? They're all the same. All men are created equal. That's the way it is in Mitzrayim, The founding fathers said so. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. So if all men are created equal, why separate this from that? What kind of thing is this, right? According to the measure of justice, it doesn't work like that. It cannot work. So therefore, to remedy this problem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu need to do something drastically, right? Drastic measure. So what did he do? He gave them one mitzvah now to do, right? In order that they should have the merit of this mitzvah that allows them to be separated from the other nation. What mitzvah did he give them? Korban Pesach, right? Korban Pesach. So what is Korban Pesach? This is something that the Jews actually used to do every year when they were in the temple, when the temple existed. That they used to, the day before Pesach, right? Not on Pesach, the day before, they used to bring a sacrifice, It was called Korban Pesach, and it had to be brought without any leaven, right? Everything unleavened at that time. This is exactly, by the way, what you should know that we have an interesting custom regarding Pesach, right? That what? Pesach, when does it come in? It comes in on the 15th of the month of Nisan, right? At night. But we stop eating chametz before that. When do we stop eating chametz? The 4th hour of the day, before that. Why do we do that? What's the reason why? It's not Pesach yet. Because according to the Torah, even before Pesach, you have to separate from chametz already. Why is that? Because it's time of Korban Pesach. You know what I mean? The time of Korban Pesach, you also have to be out of chametz, totally out of it. So therefore, this is the reason why the Jews, what they do is, right, we stop eating chametz before Pesach. Not during Pesach itself, when the night comes. That's too late already. So what do? By the 4th hour, the chametz has to be already out of our possession. All right, actually, we have until the 5th hour. What does that mean? Until the 4th hour, we can still eat chametz in the morning, before Pesach. Once the 4th hour comes, we have to now stop eating, and we have to burn it, right, or get rid of it somehow, whatever. Do some, right, do some destruction, whatever, destroy it in some way. So, right, nullification. First you have to nullify, then you have to destroy it also physically as well, right? So that we do in the morning, in the 5th hour, the latest, right? That's the latest you can do. And then once the 5th hour is over, that's it, right? Everything should be already out. Either it's burned or it's destroyed, or you sold it to a goy, right? That's all you can do. You sell it to a goy. It's also possible, right? So one of these things a person has to do. That's the way it is, right? Why is that? Because that's the time of Korban Pesach. Time of Korban Pesach, a person cannot have any chametz in his possession anymore. Very good. So now, right, we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted them to have this merit that he should to separate them. So there's also another thing here, right? Which was what? That at this time when they were bringing that korban, this was exactly the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu came and destroyed, right, killed the firstborn. So what does that mean? He was coming and killing the firstborn as the Jews already did their korban, did their sacrifice. There was also a lot of significance to this, right? What was the significance? Significance was that the Jews, as you know, right, the Egyptians, they used to worship, what was their, they had several gods that they used to have, the Egyptians, right? What was their main god? The lambs, right? The lambs, right? The sheep, yeah? So, by the way, I ask you a question, what is the reason why this was the main god of Mitzrayim? This is like something, these sheep, they don't do nothing, all they do is go, bah, bah, they go and eat grass, What makes them so special, you know what I mean? Why would anybody make a god out of these things? For God's sakes. Why would you make a god out of sheep? Of all things, this is crazy. Doesn't seem to make any sense, right? So Zohar Kadosh explains actually, right? What it is that the sheep, right, that we have in this earth, there's also something that represents that in the heavens as well. You know what I'm talking about? There's also, right, one of the constellations, right, is called what? Right? So that constellation, we're talking about the lamb, right? The lamb has a certain names. Is that what it is? So right. So Aries, right? This Aries thing, the Egyptians are attached to that constellation. That's where they get their power from. So they knew that. It says Zohar Kadosh. They realized that this was their power coming from there. Every nation has some kind of a power source, right? So their power source was coming from there. This is exactly why they worship the sheep, because of this reason, because they knew that their power source was from there. So therefore, they didn't want to degrade, their power source, to eat them, to slaughter them. You understand? This was considered to them like something taboo. Why? This is where we get our power from. So the earthly sheep are connected to that constellation. You understand? It's all one unit. The physical and the spiritual, you know what I mean?
Right.
And this was the main power of Mitzrayim, was coming from there, from this constellation. And this is the reason why they were so infatuated with this thing.
But we were eating them all the time.
Yeah, right. So what happened was, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu now said, right, to the Jews, you know what? I want to, as we already mentioned, right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to also smite their gods as well. So this was the ultimate insult, to smite, their ultimate god, right, which was the sheep. You know what I mean? What does that mean? That the Jews now were gathering them, right? Tying them to the bed and slaughtering them, right in front of their face. Like, so what are you going to do about it, huh? Yeah, I'm slaughtering your God. What are you going to do? They couldn't do nothing. They were totally powerless. So this was the ultimate insult that Kadosh Baruch Hu threw in their face. That all their gods are worthless.
Indians, they worship cows.
Okay.
They're sick people. There's also a translation for cows.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Rats.
Taurus.
And rats.
So, that's what I'm talking about. So Kadosh Baruch Hu said to the Egyptians, this is your God here. It's being slaughtered like a little cockroach. That's what I'm doing to your gods. You know what I mean? I'm going to step on them. Squash them like they're nothing. These are what your gods are worth to me. This is what they mean to me. Nothing, zero. And by the way, this is the reason why the Goyim, Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't regard them for anything. He doesn't respect them. He doesn't regard them as anything. He considers them to be totally meaningless, lack of value, lack of any importance. No. He considers them to be a big fat zero. All the Gentiles. Why is that? Because they all worship these stupid deities of their stupid nonsense that they do. Every one of them with their stupidity. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says to them, you know what? You rebel against me, and you take your stupid deities. I consider you as nothing. You're zero. You're a big fat zero. That's what you are. This is the Kadosh Baruch Hu regards them. Right? And by the way, this is it says in the prophet like this, right? What does that mean? All the nations are like nothing to you. Kadosh Baruch Hu considers them all zero, big fat zero. This is what he wanted to tell the Egyptians. You think you're the biggest superpower in the world with your stupid gods? The heck with you. You're nothing. You're zero. To show them that they're worthless. So now, right? The Jews are coming out. But what happens is like this, right? That there's a rule, by the way, when it comes to this. Kadosh Baruch Hu sent the destroyer, right? A certain, force to kill the firstborn. Right? And this destroyer was going around all over Egypt, everywhere. Going around, wrecking the rounds, right? Every firstborn, pach, pach, gives him a makkah, gives him a punch, pach, kills him on the spot. So the Jews needed to be protected from this, because they, as we said, right, their merits were not so great. They were in idolatry. They were right, exactly. So in order to protect them, Kadosh Baruch Hu told them, take the blood from this sacrifice that I told you to make and put it on your doorposts, right? Left side, right side, and on top as well. Right? 3 sides. Put it on 3 sides, and then when the destroyer comes and he will see that, he will ignore that place, right? He won't destroy over there. This was the reason why I had to put the blood there.
Were there Egyptians who ran
this was a sign, right?
hide with the Jews?
I'm sorry?
There were Egyptians who ran to hide with the Jews?
They were what? Sorry?
Egyptians who ran to hide with the Jews?
Yeah, that wouldn't help them. It says, right? It says regarding that even if the Egyptian was in the house of a Jew, he would come in anyway over there and destroy the firstborn. You know what I mean? Because they knew which one was Egyptian. They knew, right? The destroyer knows who's who, what's what, and who's who, right? He knows. You can't fool him. So therefore, right, that wouldn't help. They tried that trick with using. They tried it. That's what it says, right? So, right, interesting thing also that regarding this, the Zohar Kadosh tells us something very important about this issue. That what? Once a destroyer like this, has permission to kill like this, indiscriminately, go around. So this is a very dangerous time. So a person has to be very careful at this time. What does that mean? That when you see, right, that there's some kind of like right, that's killing like, just random, everywhere. Go, bach, here, there. So that means that Kadosh Baruch Hu has sent like a very strong force of din, of judgment in the world. How do you protect yourself from that? Says Zohar Kadosh, right? Ask the question. When you see this kind of a phenomenon, how do you do it? How do you protect yourself? So you know what it says in Zohar Kadosh? This is a very big lesson, by the way. It says what? That if the destroyer sees you, he will attack you. If he sees you. He doesn't care now if you're Jewish or not. You know why? Because he's commanded to kill everybody. You know what I mean? He has a lot of power at this time. It's a time of judgment. A general judgment of the whole nation. So therefore he doesn't discern this, righteous, not righteous, this and that. He kills everybody. Anybody he gets his hands on, he kills him. So once the situation gets so dire like this, how does a person save himself? So it says Zohar Kadosh, don't reveal yourself to the destroyer. If you do, if he sees you, he will kill you. How do you not reveal yourself?
Right.
So it says Zohar Kadosh, you have to stay out of the public eye. Stay indoors. If you go outside, he will see you. You understand? This is why the Jews were commanded not to go outside at that time. They had to stay indoors, put the blood on the lintels, right? All that stuff. You know? So says the Kadosh, at times like this, if you stay indoors and the destroyer cannot see you, you will be saved because of that. There's also another place where we see this, Farama. You know where it is? It talks about the Ark of Noach, right? Noach, it says the Zohar Kadosh asks a very good big question about that. Why wasn't Noach killed also, right? Because the power of judgment was so great, the whole world was destroyed. So why wasn't Noach killed too? You know what I mean? Because when the judgment comes, it kills everybody. It kills good, bad, it kills everybody. So why didn't he kill Noach? So it says Zohar Kadosh, the reason why I didn't kill Noach, you know why? Because Noach was indoors. He was out of the eye of the destroyer. Kadosh Baruch Hu commanded to go into the ark.
Will it affect us here when it comes?
I think we're totally out of the public eye over here, right? but Nisim is opening the door, so he may see us. I'm not sure. Okay, no, don't worry, Nisim. It's okay. No problem.
No, seriously,
Right?
Rabbi. Let's say it comes.
Yeah.
The punishment comes when we're studying on a Thursday.
Together.
Are we going to avoid it?
That's the whole thing, right? It says Zohar Kadosh, if you see something like that, like a general punishment like that, people are being killed left and right, you know, you stay indoors. Don't let the destroyer see you. If he sees you outdoors, he will kill you.
Yeah.
Even if you have a switchblade knife, it doesn't make one protect you. Understand? Yeah. So when it comes to things, so that's why Noach was saved. His children, Noach and children were saved. You know why? Noach and children, because they went inside the ark. They couldn't. The destroyer couldn't see them anymore.
So
That's why Hashem told them to go in.
So if we see some kind of crazy plague or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, we're to stay indoors.
Right. Stay indoors. Yes.
Flee?
Yes. Yes.
Not run away?
No. There's no way to run. The best way to run is indoors. Lock yourself in. You know. That's it. Nobody gets in. Nobody gets. That's the way to do it.
Hampshire's not okay.
New Hampshire is the best outdoors that there is, right? The beautiful land over there.
Am I right?
Right? Best outdoors that there
It's
is.
all white.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, so, you know.
Again, with the
America is an amazingly beautiful country. You know, it really
I like
is.
that stuff.
I'll tell you, one day I drove through, you know, like just New Jersey, like southern New Jersey, and I was going somewhere, and I saw such beautiful, like, you know, surroundings. I wanted to, like, you know, sing a song to Hashem, you know, to God. It's so beautiful. It just, you know, the country is gorgeous. I mean, you know, yeah, but also the beauty of the country of America is very, very unusual. Unusually beautiful country. You know, I'm not talking about Regal Park, David. I wasn't referring to that.
not where we were raised, right?
This is the ghetto, David. It's a ghetto. You know, it's a ghetto. Okay, so anyway, Batai, this is exactly what happened. This is how the Jews got out. So, Bezat Hashem, we'll pick it up next time. Thanks for coming. God bless you.
Park is not that bad, you know, when you go